Hi guys and welcome to a new video on Sonal's life. As you can tell from the title of this video, we finally finished the Best of Super Junior tournament. Compared to the last few years, this year was so much more different. It almost felt like a return to the pre-pandemic. So you had 2 blocks, 20 wrestlers across them from all over the world, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Most people agree it's one of the best tournaments that New Japan has had in a very long time, and we had the final recently. So I thought, as always, let's have a whistle-stop tour through everything that happened in the tournament. The final night, which was huge, not just because of the Best of Super Junior final and what that means going forward. And also maybe like a little touch upon my predictions, which were very wrong, but at one point could have been very right. So let's get going. Like I said, this year's tournament was the biggest ever. If you don't really know who was in it, check out my preview, I spoke a bit about it. But honestly, Block A and Block B were both as strong as each other. And going into it, I sort of had a clear cut idea of what was going to happen. Normally you have the guys who always take the fall. So this year I was it would be Doki, Clark Connors, Master Wato probably. And the guys who are always going to get the win. So Hiromu, Despi, Ishimori, and to an extent, the people I thought were going to win all the matches, did very well. But the favorite thing about this is there was no clear pattern in any of the matches. So do you know what I mean? I said before, you normally have the people get the losses and the wins. You can normally predict who is going to win each match and how it's going to happen, all because it'll link to this storyline at the end. That was completely thrown out the window, and you'll sort of hear why when I talk about my favourite matches. And I just want to say, at first, I was a bit confused. I was there is no clear winner. Because for the past few years, it's always been the guys at the very top of the block and the guys at the very bottom. So I was a bit is this New Japan not understanding how wrestling works? When actual fact is they've understood it more, and it was me misunderstanding. Because professional wrestling isn't about doing this story that is predictable. In a real wrestling match, you don't know who's going to win. They don't know who's going to win. And this unpredictability was really amazing. So yeah, that's the first thing I want to say before I go into any of my favourite matches. So I almost seemed impossible to narrow them down into a few matches that I liked, because there were so many. Similarly with the storylines in the actual blocks themselves, so many to talk about. But let me just quickly list some of my favourite matches. And some of them are quite surprising. One of them was El Phantasmo versus Doki. So you all know that I had El Phantasmo going to the final of the Best of Super Junior. And this match against Doki seemed it's just another notch in the card. He's going to get those 2 points easy. Just to point out, Doki has killed it this tournament. He got a win over El Lindemann. Again, a big surprise. But you sort of think it's a step too far to get over a guy like El Phantasmo. The match itself was perfect. So them two are very different. So their personalities couldn't be more different. But their style is very similar, both based on a luchador background, and they're not afraid to break the rules. And that's exactly what you saw. But what I loved, so it got to a point where Doki was going for his classic daybreak, and he botched it. And I was like, damn Doki, you do this move so many times. He was playing us all. As soon as El Phantasmo went to capitalize on it, Doki rolled him up and got the win. Probably, I would say, the biggest win of Doki's career. Again, going with the fact that New Japan haven't made things predictable. And then another match. So whereas you understood, you went in thinking, oh well, El Phantasmo is going to win. El Phantasmo was another person who had an amazing tournament. And his best match, and maybe the second best match of the entire tournament, was his bout against Robbie Eagles. Compared to a lot of guys who were having first time matches, and it was sort of more like a feeling out process, as Bushi said, the rivalry between El Phantasmo and Robbie Eagles has gone way, way back. They have had animosity since Robbie was in Bullet Club. This match was absolutely phenomenal between them. They went at 100 miles an hour, but again, and I've said this with Robbie, his style is so diverse. So he was targeting the leg for obviously the Ron Miller special. And El Phantasmo similarly, Normally we see a lot of like charisma and like teasing. We had that to start with, but it got to the point where both of them were just fighting for their lives. And I think it was, aside from the final match, which obviously didn't have a time limit, I think theirs was the longest match of the entire tournament, and it was so worth it. And then obviously from the extreme lengths to the shortest matches, Uncle Nobu's matches, so Kanemaru's matches with Hiromu and Taiji Shimori. So we all know Uncle Nobu, very underrated wrestler, but a very smart wrestler. During his match with Hiromu Takahashi, on the warm-up match he had targeted the leg. He continued with that. Similarly with Taiji Shimori, and actually I'll say with Sho, both of those were trying to go for the dirty tactics. You cannot out-heel master the heel master. And this led to Kanemaru getting 3 massive wins over, I guess, 3 of the favourites in the competition. And so yeah, those are 3 matches. I've got a list here, so I'll go through some of the others that I liked. Hiromu versus Akira. So Francesco Akira from the Empire. Again, he probably would have expected to do better, but for 22 years old, really gave Hiromu like a hard time, and it was so close between them. El Fantasma and Master Wato. I feel like I'm just mentioning El Fantasma, who by the way did phenomenally in this tournament. Similarly with Master Wato. Like Doki, improving. And there was one backstage comment after Wato beat Doki, where he said, you know what, Doki, we were seen as the underdogs, but I want to see the 2 of us in a Best of Super Junior final. I see that. Robbie Eagles versus TJP. And Robbie Eagles versus Yuta Wheeler, and then TJP versus Yuta Wheeler. I've said those 3 sort of similarly because I think the 3 of them as athletes are very similar in their styles. Yes, they are high-flying juniors, but they are also very methodical and amazing submission specialists. Like, we know that Wheeler Yuta is being trained by like Bryan Danielson, John Moxley, William Regal. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name. And it meant that those three when they were wrestling each other, it was so fresh and so unexpected. And I was like, I need to see this again and again and again. And let's see, Ace Austin versus Ishimori, which, if you know what happens later on, is very weird. Despy versus Doki, the interfaction match. Yes, it was the main event, by the way. And even Despy said it, like, you all thought Doki was going to win at one point. I can promise you, while I was watching this, I was like, Doki's going to win it, because he knows Despy so well. And to an extent, Despy underestimated his faction mate, which, I mean, is a story of Doki's life. And I feel like I could literally go on and on. Like, there were so many amazing matches. And it feels like for the first time, I enjoyed, like, every match. There wasn't one that I was like, it's a bit shit, isn't it? Yes, I had a few issues with, like, Sho being Sho, because, like, that was going to happen anyway. But all of the wrestlers did amazing, and they put their hearts and souls into it. Before I talk about what happened in the final, because, by the way, a lot actually happened, I want to talk a bit about, like, my MVPs of the tournament. Again, like, the last few years, there haven't been as many wrestlers. I think it was normally, like, 10 in a single bracket. There are so many amazing people. Because if you think about it, for so many of these wrestlers, it is their first tour, either in Japan, or at least, like, it's their first tour of New Japan, like, a full one. A special shout out to, like, Alex Zane. I have not been very aware of him, but holy God, he has literally probably become the most loved wrestler in New Japan from the fans. The way he interacts on social media, the turnouts he's getting. And he has been a phenomenal wrestler, even though, you know, I'm doubting that he's a junior heavyweight. He's a big boy, so someone needs to get those scales out. By the mean, I said the same thing about Shingo, do you know what I mean? He has really proved himself, putting on amazing matches. And I really hope, like, New Japan takes notice of this and signs him, because if he hopefully does stay as a junior, he would be an amazing addition. He has got personality, charisma, and talent. All the MVPs are... Okay, no, I'll go to him at the end, because I think he's my main VIP. El Fantasma. You saw how many times I mentioned him for, like, top matches. Yes, like, we know El Fantasma likes to mess about a bit. But at the end of the day, most of his matches were purely clean. There was a bit of, like, back raking and, like, teasing. but it was actually like he put on purely amazing matches. And if you just like forgot the gear and his personality, you'd think he was a babyface, because even the crowds were like, this is an amazing match. Who else? Uncle Nobu. Like, Uncle Nobu probably had the least amount of time in the ring, but his smarts and just like his attitude towards wrestling is still as strong as it was like probably when he first debuted. Quickly named, so TJP, first time in the Best of Super Junior for like, was it like a decade or something? Again, shined, caught the attention of the crowds. I feel like I'm always going to miss someone because there's so many. Let's just say everyone, like Wheeler Yuta did well, L. Lindemann properly shined, Doki, Taguchi. Right, can we just say all my MVPs are all the wrestlers? But there is one who had a step above, and I know I didn't mention Hiromu and Despy. I feel like it's just like natural that they're going to be amazing. My MVP of the entire tournament, and everyone will probably agree, is Robbie Eagles. This man, as always, I've always loved Robbie. An amazing wrestler, such an amazing personality, especially after moving to Chaos, which I think is the perfect fit for him. He properly shined. He didn't maybe pick up as many wins as like I feel like he should have, because obviously he should have got to the final, that's the thing. But unfortunately they lost to Titan in the last night, affected that. But he put on match after match after match, whether it was with the new guys or whether it was with the veterans, and he held his own. I'm also going to say I really love the brand new gear on Robbie. It is great, and I think it almost gave him that added confidence boost, because we've seen him shine in tournaments in the past, but here I will literally, there is not one person you will ask who will not mention Robbie in one of their highlights of this tournament, because he has done so well. And do I just sound like a broken record? This tournament was amazing, and all of these amazing matches and wrestlers really put their hearts and souls into it to create a tour which, not for me, because you know Best of Super Junior is one of my favourite tours of the year, if not my favourite tour. For some people, they don't really like the Best of Super Junior tournament compared to the likes of the New Japan Cup and G1. But these guys cemented that, you know what, the pandemic is over. We are getting back to regular business, and the junior division is one of the strongest in the world. So obviously after all those amazing matches and all these wrestlers shining, we had the final. And what a final it was. Due to an injury from, well, not an injury, because Juice Robinson had appendicitis. I hope he gets well soon. We had Honma versus Oiwa in the first match. A really nice second match between 8 of the guys from the Best of Super Junior, so including the guys from CMLL, AEW, Impact, and New Japan. And it was just literally, we had some really nice warm-up matches. So we had TJP and Francesco Akira versus Taguchi and Wato, and they have now earned themselves a title opportunity. Bloody, it was great. Zack Sabre Jr. and Uncle Nobu versus Show and Evil. And Dick Togo, you've always got to include him. Like, basically Suzuki Gun was like, fuck you, Bullet Club, you're pissing me off. There was whiskey, there was low blows, it was great. In particular, it was the last set of matches that were pretty shocking. So we started off, I don't have to read the cards, we start off with a 6-man tag between Aaron Hanare, Great Khan, Jeff Cobb versus ELP and the IWGP Heavyweight Champions Farley and Chase. Again, like an okay match, but it was the end that really stuck out. So it was Hanare and ELP in the ring, and suddenly Ace Austin came out. Very weird, like the only junior in there is ELP, and everyone was like, what's going on? Suddenly there was a distraction. The newest member of the Bullet Club is Ace Austin. Now I've shared my thoughts. 1, that is bloody shocking. I did that on Twitter. 2, I'm just like, how many more members of the Bullet Club is there? Like, yeah, there's a lot. I know that there's never enough, because obviously they're spread across all different companies, but I feel like if Ace Austin wanted to shine in New Japan, a different place would have suited him well. We then had a multi-man tag match. We had LIJ versus Suzuki Gun, obviously linking with Shingo and Taichi and the King of Pro Wrestling. And then the huge Chaos and Hontai versus Bullet Club, leading up to Jay's match with Okada at Dominion. It was also the return of Kenta, looking very handsome. But obviously the main event was Hiromu versus Despy, who got to the final. And you know what, at first I was upset because we've seen Hiromu in the finals for like 4 years now, and we saw this exact matchup 2 years ago. I don't know why I ever doubted it. Like, if I have praised their other bouts in the past, this was even better. I think it went for about 35 minutes, but the pace seemed different. Even going into it, and Chris Charlton was like, Hiromu and Despy, they hate each other, but they love to wrestle each other. And that was the momentum of this match. It wasn't very fast. It was methodical and also showcased the wear and tear that both have had in the tournament. So the first 10 minutes seemed to be a flurry of offense from Despy, sort of like working on the leg that Uncle Nobu damaged during the actual blocks. Similarly, the second 10 minutes was Hiromu focusing on just all of Despy to get into either his D, so his submission, or the time bomb. Yeah, it was those final like 5-10 minutes that stressed me out. Basically, they were hitting finishers and they were kicking out. So Despy hit 2 pinche locos, Hiromu kicked out. Hiromu hit his time bomb and time bomb 2, Despy kicked out. They both managed to get out each other's submissions, and honestly, it was mental. Like, my heart was racing. I was literally live tweeting like, what is going on? Because at first I thought Despy's flurry of offense means Hiromu's gonna win. Then Hiromu's flurry of offense, does that mean we get Despy win? In the end, after literally resorting to like sort of like stunnering Despy like several times and then hitting his finisher again, Hiromu got the win and has literally cemented himself as history as not only the man in the most best of Super Junior final, but having won the tournament 3 times. Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton said it perfectly. Most of the fans will probably, like me, have wanted Despy to win. Not because nothing against Hiromu and like his amazing talent, just we wanted to see something new. However, even me as like the world's biggest Desperado fan could not fault Hiromu. He has gone through so much during this tournament, the highs, the lows, and he is a worthy winner. And I think it was the perfect show to cap off like an amazing, I think it's been a month of shows, and a perfect lead up to Dominion. So that was my whistle stop tour. I said I was going to quickly look at my predictions. So I said Yo and El Fantasma. This on the final night of block action actually could have happened, but bloody Show had to go and beat Yo. And then obviously El Fantasmo lost and Despy won, so it was like a tiebreaker situation there. But you know what, I can't complain because they both did amazing, both showcased themselves, and it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. We've got challenges for the junior tag titles. ELP has said that he wants to go in the G1. We've got Hiromu versus Ishimori set for Dominion, and in the words of Show, every problem that happened in this tournament was because of Uncle Nobu. Yeah, I feel like I literally have rushed through this because there was so much to go through. But I feel like, and also if you want to know more in-depth stuff, I write for Wrestle Talk and I'm going to be doing a list of my favourite matches and my MVPs, which I will link down below. Have a look at that. But hopefully you enjoyed my review, like the tournament, and if you didn't have a chance to watch it, you can go back and pick some of the best matches because they were definitely amazing. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, talk to me. What were your favourite matches? Who were your MVPs? What did you think of the results? And just generally, like, in terms of the entire tournament, what were your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know on social media and drop me a follow at @wrestling_chat. Make sure to like, share, and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you very soon. Bye!